Hi, I'm Tony Staunton, Irish bartender out of Chicago. After years of drinking, I decided to take a year off. So as I begin my journey, I decided to ask fellow bartenders what they do to stay healthy and avoid the industry hazards of the bar business. Welcome to Wide Awake 52. Pj Wagner, welcome to Wide Awake 52. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for
Finally
having me,
got you
Tom.
on the show. I'm delighted to have you here. So,
Yeah, I know.
It's really good. You know, you're a Chicago guy. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And
So yeah, I'm kind of a Chicago guy, a little bit transient. I work out in the suburbs. I'm a brand ambassador, and I am actually kind of grew up in the South. I grew up in Georgia.
You don't really have an accent. I don't hear the any kind of southern.
Yeah, it was kind of funny growing up because in Georgia, when someone has a southern accent, they call it talking country. And it usually meant that someone was, it was kind of associated to lesser intelligence, you know. And for me, growing up, my family was from Chicago and New Hampshire.
So how did you end up in the bar business? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I actually was kind of born into it. My grandfather was a French chef. He ran some restaurants and resort bars in Fort Lauderdale back in the 80s, and my mother grew up working in the kitchen as a prep chef with him. And so I started off in the restaurant industry. I think I was like 14, you know, helping wash dishes or greeting people at the door, bussing tables, and just kind of worked my way up.
So you're a younger guy. How old are you?
I'm 26. I'll be 27 this year.
So what would you say now? You know, when I was in my 20s, it was all about working and partying. But it's different for everyone. Some people are more responsible than others in their 20s. Do you
Yeah.
think that as a younger person now, do you think that people like me have we've said, hey, that's good, but like try not to be like me, try to save some money, or do you think is there much channel of information, or do you think there's more information is required to be shared?
I think that, you know, there's an interesting dichotomy there. There's the group of people in my age that are going to be the ones going out and partying hard.
Well, it's expected.
You know,
at that age, it's expected.
you expect it, and which is, I think it's because it's expected is why they get away with it. But for me, I grew up in a restaurant family where, you know, one side of my family was all German, and then my mother was adopted by a French family. And so I grew up in a culture where alcohol was very important just to home life and to cuisine and culture in general. So I was, I think, 13 or 14, and my family was like, if you want to drink, you can do it at the house, but you just stay here, you don't go anywhere. You know, and for me, that made it a lot less cool. When your mom's
Sure.
like, yeah, I'll go buy a 6-pack, and if you want to see what beer tastes like, we can drink it right here, and we'll walk through like what beer is supposed to be, or like, oh, you think you might like wine? Well, this is what I like in wine, and you know, learn about wine at 16 years old.
And that's great.
And it was kind of interesting to have that education, but it also pushed me away from ever becoming a seriously heavy drinker and going out and partying, because it just wasn't cool to me anymore. Like when my mom is like, yeah, we'll drink and party at the house, it's like, that's not that cool anymore. Thanks, Mom. One of the interesting things about being young and in this industry is that, you know, you're expected to be the one that goes out and parties and does all these things. And while I'm around it and I see it, that's never who I am. So I end up being the responsible one. I ended up going out to drink before I moved up here with a couple of bosses once. And I was the one driving them home when they thought I was the one too immature to run the program.
Well, thank you, PJ. Thanks for coming on, and see you soon. Cheers.